Right, you guys. Happy Monday. Thank you so much for hopping on here. I'm super, super excited to have Tracy on this call. For those of you that don't know, lots of times she is up north working. So I've been trying to get her on a call for a while, but she's extremely busy with work. So I'm super excited that we finally got her on a call. And her story is absolutely amazing and so inspiring for so many people. So I'm so excited for you guys to hear this live. And to, after this call, make sure to share it with your teams, share it with people who could relate to this story or benefit from hearing it. Honestly, I think every single coach out there should hear this because it's simply inspiring. So I'm not going to dive too much into this, but Tracy is a one-star dive coach right now, which is amazing. She's lost over 150 pounds. She's in the running to possibly one of the Beachbody Challenge contestants on stage at Summit, which is a huge deal, you guys. She's in the running right now to possibly win $100,000 for her weight loss with Beachbody. Like, that is phenomenal. She already won $1,000 from the Beachbody Challenge, and she's been coaching for a couple of years now, and her story is inspiring so many people. So with that being said, take it away, mute me, and I'm excited to hear from you.
Thanks, Jen. Okay, so as Jen said, I have recently lost 150 pounds with Beachbody. I will kind of touch base on my personal journey before and how it changed my life, and then I'll kind of go into how I turned it into coaching, and then a little bit of the obstacles that I've overcome since I started everything. So before Beachbody, I was 330-ish pounds, 337 I think to be exact. I really was in the biggest rut ever. I didn't even know where to begin. I had every excuse in the book to never exercise. As awful as it sounds, I didn't even really know how to eat properly. And then I was 29 years old. I injured my right knee and I had popped it out and I needed to have surgery. So that was just another excuse that I could use so then I didn't have to exercise or anything. So anyways, long story short, once I had surgery, I was always avoiding the doctor like crazy forever and ever. I went like years without having a physical. And then when I was 29, I had to go to the doctor often because they needed to check on my knee. I ended up having surgery. And then I thought to myself, like, I have got to change my life. This is awful. I'm going to die. Like, the doctor always told me I had high blood pressure. I was borderline diabetic. I had really dark neck and my armpits were dark, and in my internal legs, they were really dark. And I always tried to just exfoliate it, and I thought that was the issue. But my doctor actually told me that I was borderline diabetic and it could be controlled based on my nutrition. So I changed it. And once I started to go to the doctor about my knee, I got that all fixed up. And I said, okay, you know what? When I turn 30, that's it. I need to change my life. Like, I can't keep living the life of a man is what I called it. I hung out with linemen all the time, and I ate chicken wings and drank beer. And then I have a desk job. So then I sat at work all day and I just kept gaining weight. So then fast forward to all of that, and I came across Beachbody through Facebook, and my sister and I both decided to join at the same time. But I didn't want to join with her because I still had in the back of my mind where, what if I failed? I didn't want her to be there in the group with me to encourage me and whatnot. I wanted to still have that option to have some sort of an excuse, which is awful, but it's the truth. So she actually joined with somebody else out of her community, and then I joined with one of my friends out of Brandon. So we were in different challenge groups, and I started with T25 and vanilla Shakeology. And I fell in love with Shanti. And I'm sorry if I get emotional throughout this video, because sometimes when I tell my story, I do. So I apologize. But so I started with T25. And anybody that's ever done Shanti, he is like absolutely amazing. He's such a motivating human, and he just says the right things. You know, he makes you believe that anything is possible and just power through it and do the best that you can. So my first month, I literally laid on my living room floor almost every single day crying. It was so hard. I couldn't do lunges. I could hardly do a squat. Gosh, I could hardly even like bend because I had so much weight carrying on my knees and on my ankles and my whole body, obviously. But so I remember standing in between my bar and my countertop, and that's how I would do lunges. I would just hold on to them and I would do that. And I just kept powering through it. And then one day I was laying on my living room floor and I was literally just bawling. And I was like, oh my gosh, Tracy, how did you get to this at 30 years old? Like, how did you let yourself get to this weight without taking any control? Like, I was so mad at myself. So I laid there and I bawled and I bawled and I bawled. And then I called my mom and dad and I was like, this is so hard. Like, this is impossible. I can't do it. I'm quitting and whatever. And my dad and I had a very strong bond. And my dad says to me, come on, you're way too stubborn for that. You can do this. Go push play and do it again. And I was like, okay. And my mom is so kind and soft and sweet. And she's like, come on, Tracy, you can do it. I know you can do it. Just go and try and do the best that you can. And I was like, okay. And I sat there and I cried and I rubbed my tears and I literally laid there for 25 minutes through the entire workout. So it could have been done if I wasn't having a pity party. But anyway, I laid there and I listened to Shaun T. And right at the end of his video, he was like right up in my face on my big screen, and he's like, you can do this. You've got this. You just have to do the best that you can be. And I was like, yeah, I can. Yeah, I can. And I was literally so pumped. Like, those words were just like something that he decided to say that day in that video, but it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, I've totally got this. Like, I can do it. I blew my nose. I wiped my tears. And literally from that day on, it was January 17th, 2015. And I pushed play, and I literally have never looked back. He has completely changed my life. My first month, I lost 17 pounds, and it was absolutely amazing, like how much he has impacted my life. And it's really cool because I actually met him at my first summit, and I had a photo op with him, and I bawled when I met him. And I told him, and he was so sincere. It was like he was my friend, you know, and he was like, man, this is so heartwarming. And at that time, I think I had lost like 45 or 50 pounds. And it was just really cool to be able to meet him and connect with him like that, because he had no idea how much he's impacted my life. So anyway, so from there, I lost 17 pounds. And then my sister kind of mentioned to me, because people started to ask me what I have been doing, and they started to notice that I had lost weight. And yes, sorry. Sorry, I just have to mute. Oh, they are all muted. Okay. So, sorry, where was I? Okay, so then I had lost 17 pounds, and then my sister, by the time I decided to be a coach, I was 20 pounds by now. And then my sister said to me, you know what, Tracy, you should consider being a coach. Everyone's starting to ask you what you're doing and how you've lost the weight and so on and so forth. You should do it. And I literally laughed at her, and I was like, I can't be a Beachbody coach. Like, that is impossible. And she's like, no, you totally could do it. And I said, no, I can't. Like, that is not something for me. I'm not fit. I have no idea even how to eat properly. Like, I thought all these things that had to be as a Beachbody coach. However, as people started to ask me, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this. I'm going to stop worrying about what other people think, and I'm going to give this a try. So I signed up to be a coach at that point, because actually I stopped Shakeology for about a month, because I thought, oh, I've totally got this. I don't need to do this. I can just start walking and working out whenever, and I don't really need to be having Shakeology. And then I quickly realized after about 8 days, 10 days maybe without it, I started to going back into old habits. I was just feeling sluggish and just felt like crap. And so I knew that Shakeology needed to be in my life. So I ordered it up. And at that time when I ordered it up, I signed up to be a Beachbody coach as well. So then I just started sharing my journey on Facebook. And at the time I had like 300 people on my Facebook. I had no idea how to even really post anything. I literally went about 4 years probably without even posting anything at all on Facebook. And then all of a sudden I was like overwhelming people with these tacky collages. And I was like, oh yeah, let's all throw autumn into this so people know that I'm talking about Beachbody, rather than forming my own brand, I guess, at the time. But that's how it was when I started. And I'm sure I'm not the only person that did 100 collages anyway. And so then from there, I just realized, you know what, I need to build my own brand. I became like obsessed almost of what I was doing. And I just became so passionate about it. So I reached out to my family actually, and my aunts and uncles and my cousins. And I was like, do you guys want to do a family challenge? And they 100% were on board to support me more than my business. And that's totally fine, whichever their excuse is. I appreciated it. So then I actually ran my very first challenge through my phone. I didn't even do it through Facebook because none of them were on Facebook. So I did it through a group chat. And it was awesome. Like everybody did really well and so on and so forth. So then people started talking about what it was that I did, started sharing more on it. And then it just kind of grew from there. So as I started to work my business, I'll just kind of move into some of my hurdles that I've overcome. I have an extremely close family who's very supportive over everything. However, I have a very, very, very strong connection with my dad. And unfortunately, I lost my dad last summer to cancer. And it was devastating. I had literally at the time I had two choices. My dad got diagnosed with cancer. Oh, I didn't want to start crying about this. He got diagnosed in April of last year. And literally it took him in 3 months. And at the beginning of August, Dad lost his life, and it was very, very quick and very unexpected. And it obviously crumbled my life as I can't even talk about it. It's almost been a year. But anyways, with that, my dad was literally my number one fan. He was always the one that I would call for everything. If it was I lost 5 pounds, or if I could fit in a different jean size, or if somebody complimented me or whatever, it was always he was that one that I would call, and I'd be like, Dad, you're never gonna guess this, or oh my gosh, I made $500 this week, or whatever it was. He'd be like, right on. And then I was trying to convince my sister to do this, and Christy's like, I don't know if this is for me. And Dad said to her, I don't know, Christy, I honestly think Tracy's onto something with this. I think you should join her. And I was like, oh my gosh, Dad's actually supporting my online business thing. This is pretty cool. So in my heart, I felt like I was really onto something because my dad was so, so, so supportive with it. So that was really cool. So anyways, then I lost my dad, and who was my rock, who was literally my everything. Anybody that knows Dad and I knows that we're very much alike. It's crazy. So anyway, when I lost my dad, I took some time off work, close to a month, because I couldn't even face my days. It was awful. It was a huge tragic. And I kept thinking to myself, I have two options to do here. I can either slip back into my old habits, completely give up on life. And I knew that Dad would be so disappointed if I was to do that. He knew how hard I worked to get to where I was at that time. And I knew that wasn't really an option. However, that was the easy out at the time. And I knew if I would have, it would have just affected me in the long run. So some days it was hard even to get out of my bed and face reality. But my other option was to keep moving forward and look for the signs that Dad continues to send me from above today. And it's pretty cool, the different signs that I get from him. And I was never really a believer in that. I was never a believer in mediums and so on and so forth. However, it was life-changing. And these mediums have brought me so much light. And just to know that he's still there encouraging me and cheering me on for my business and life in general. So that's pretty neat. So sometimes, yes, we are thrown lots of hurdles in life, but we have to just keep pushing. And, it was really cool when I was talking to Jimmy about it in Mexico this year. He said, Tracy, you have been thrown so much. And he's like, you're like a figure of our team name, Just Keep Pushing. And I was so humbled when he said that to me, because gosh, it's so true. I have had a lot, I still have about 25-ish pounds that I would like to lose, but I'm not giving up. I never was that Beachbody coach that started with only 5 pounds or wanting to define my abs or whatever that was. Whatever people want to define as a Beachbody coach, we all have our own story. We all have our own journey to follow. And I feel like we need to be passionate and be proud of who we are, because we all have a different story. And just keep pushing through every single thing that we're thrown at us, because life isn't easy. And sometimes the social media, what do you say it? the wheel, the social media wheel, sometimes is portrayed as, oh my gosh, she's got this glorified life. She's traveling to Mexico and she's traveling here, she's traveling there. But I don't only share those things. Like, I share literally every single part of my life, and it's not easy. And there's some days that I just can't even face life without my dad. And thankfully for Beachbody and for my amazing family, I've made it through a full year of ups and downs, and it's really, really cool to have that. And honestly, I can't even imagine going through something like this if I didn't have Beachbody. And I'm dead serious. Like, I turn to exercise and good food 100%. Like, I've walked, I biked, like, some days I just did 2 workouts just so then I wouldn't sit there and cry over nothing. Like, it's so crazy how I turn to that rather than turning back into chicken fingers and French fries like I used to love. I'm just going to check my notes quickly here. What else I wanted to tell you guys. Okay, so Jen had touched on my full-time job. I do work full-time for Manitoba Hydro. I don't really share a lot of what I do for my full-time business with Beachbody, not because I don't love what I do, because I certainly do. I just don't ever want to conflict the two of them. So I just do Hydro and I do Beachbody. However, this winter I worked for a bipole project, and it was crazy hours. Like, I worked 21 plus days straight, 10-hour days. So I really had to try and balance my life. It was really hard to do like 80-day obsession because they were longer workouts, be working in the north where it's dark until like the light, I think, didn't get light until like 10 in the morning, and then it was dark again at 3, and I'm not even exaggerating. Like, there was just no daylight. It was terrible. But I still had to try and keep my spirits up with doing that, right? So I had happy lights at work and everything else just to try and keep my sanity. But so I worked like 10-hour days, and I knew that I didn't want to give up on my business. That was just not even in the cards. And I also didn't want to give up on myself. However, I also know how I am, and I know that I can't ever give from an empty cup. So I knew that I always had to put myself first for that. And I apologized to my team numerous times because I knew I wasn't as onto it with my business and with helping my team and whatnot. But so I worked 10 hours, and then I would get up at about 5 o'clock in the morning because I worked at 7, and I would check in with my challenge groups. I just made it work. And I checked in with my challengers. I responded to emails for about half an hour quickly in the morning, got done, got ready for work, went to work till about 5:30, 6 o'clock, ate supper, worked out, and then I worked my business again. I was just like bam, bam, bam. However, I didn't have a social life because I was in Gillam. Enough said. If you don't know where Gillam is, it's like Churchill almost. It's very isolated. So I just chose to choose success over sleep. And I knew I wanted to build a business to be able to live the life that I live now and to have that extra freedom of income and so on and so forth. So sometimes we just have to adapt and make it work and just pick our battles and pick what we're willing to give up to be able to be successful in the long run. And I know that's crazy, but I've given up lots of parties and lots of different things. Even when I started as a coach, like, it was very challenging, and I loved to party before, and now I've just really given up on that to be able to build my business. But I'm a very strong believer in personal development. And if I can request one book, I think I would suggest, I still think that my favorite book is The Gifts of Imperfection. I don't know if you guys have read it, but it is life-changing. I think as women, we tend to do a lot of comparison, and we are always so hard on ourselves for what we're not, rather than being proud of what we are. And I really struggled with that myself. I mean, I was over 300 pounds. I struggled with weight my whole life. And I honestly didn't even know that personal development was a thing. Like, I didn't know that you could even get books like this. I didn't know people did this. And when Beachbody introduced me to personal development, I was like, what is this? This is kind of corny, is what I thought. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. So anyways, I read a few books, and then I came across The Gifts of Imperfection. And I was like, oh my gosh, it just really tugged at my heart. It changed my outlook on so many things. And to me, I feel like that's what made me develop to being the person that I am. It made me realize, like, I don't really care what that person, or why she's not liking my stuff, or why she's not commenting on my stuff, or why so-and-so's not following me or why they've unfollowed me. Like, I really don't care at all, actually. Like, to me, it was like the gifts of imperfection teaches you to appreciate and respect the person you are. And your flaws, your everything, that makes you who you are. And I think that's really, really cool. So if you haven't read it, I definitely suggest you guys read it. Take it. It's just a short little book. I think maybe there's 200 pages on the book. I don't even know. It's very short, but so I definitely recommend that. I do have a couple just final tips for everybody on what I feel has helped me with my business. Don't ever think that it's a get rich quick thing, because it certainly isn't. Gosh, I remember when I first started, I bet you I was working for like 10 cents an hour. It was like, oh, I was just kicking a dead horse. I kept posting and I was putting so much hours into research, into Pinterest, into, oh my gosh, I was just not realizing to be who I am. And then when you're helping so many people and you're not getting the benefits of it. So if you do put the work in, if you do power through it, honestly, it's totally worth your time. I'm definitely not making $20,000 a month, but I am doing well with it, and I'm happy where my business is headed. So just keep powering through the best that you guys can, and you will become successful. And be you. Don't ever, ever, ever try to be somebody that you're not. You know, we all follow upline coaches, and, you know, if we have a connection with some sort of coach, we all follow them, but don't be them. Don't, like, if you like the way they've said something in their post, take that thought, but turn it into how you speak, or turn it into how you think. Because copying and pasting people, and then all of a sudden you meet somebody and you're like, oh man, like, they're not even who they are on social media. Like, it's kind of, I don't know. So just be you, because you're going to attract what you're putting out there. And there's other people that want to be able to relate to who you are and what you do. So just remember that. Don't ever act like you've never eaten chocolate or chicken fingers and fries or ice cream or whatever your favorite thing is, because we're human. We are all normal people. And I don't care what anybody says on this call. We all eat shit. Like, we do. Pardon my language, but we do. Like, Beachbody coaches aren't these perfect humans. We are real people living the real life, helping real people get real results. So just be you. And share that. Like, if you have a fault and you eat ice cream, good for you. I hope you enjoy that. And if I can accomplish what I've accomplished over the last 3 years, I swear anybody can be successful with this. This is a very sugar-coated version of my entire 3-year story. But I mean, if I can lose 150 pounds, start a business in health and wellness with starting at 300 pounds, anybody can do this. My gosh, you just have to be able to be willing to be vulnerable and to share your story and inspire others, and you'll be golden. Believe in what you do. Be passionate and be happy and proud of being a Beachbody coach, because what we do is really freaking awesome. Like, making a positive impact in people's lives is huge. Like, that is amazing. When you meet negative people, are you like, oh man, I love the way they made me feel today? No. But when you meet somebody that's really cool and positive and upbeat and whatever, it's like, oh my gosh, she like rocked my world today. I loved meeting her. It was so cool. Like, that's the type of person you want to be, because that's the type of people you want to attract back. And the law of attraction is amazing. So do it. Pay it forward. Just be awesome, because that's what we are. I already touched on personal development. And just remember, we are here to inspire people to want to live a healthier and happier life, and we are not salesmen. Ever. Don't ever consider yourself a salesman. Don't ever let anybody think that you are. And if you come off and if you read your posts on Facebook and you feel salesy, switch the wording, switch how you want to say it. You want to motivate people and inspire people. You don't want to be like, hey, selling this 2B mindset program, you should buy it. No, why don't you want to learn something? You want to show them, teach them about it, and inspire their life. And then huge tip that I have is our business is like, our core of our business is our challenge groups. And I know we can all take selfies and we can all post 100 motivational quotes and whatever on our social media and sell that challenge pack. Like, it's not really that hard to sell a challenge pack. However, our job starts after that challenge pack is sold. In my opinion, our jobs start in the challenge groups. You want to make those challenge groups successful however you work on it. Like if you're going to focus on personal development, if you're going to do a whole mix of things, whatever it is, your job is going to start once you hook that client up with your challenge pack. Because once you have a successful challenger in your group and they're losing weight or they're feeling good or they're just like, even if it's a non-scale victory, like if they're just so pumped to be around awesome people like us, they're going to spread the word to their friends and their family and their coworkers. And they're going to say, man, I am part of this amazing group. And my coach is just freaking awesome. Like you should totally join it. And then that's the rippling effect of paying this forward to people and just helping so many other people in the world. And that's what our mission is. So just remember, like put your core, and sometimes I know as coaches, we all get frustrated and it's like, oh gosh, like they just constantly are messaging us or they're constantly doing this or they're wanting me to practically spoon feed them. But you know what? I remember where I started and it was so frustrating because I really had no idea where to even begin. And I know that sounds really silly at 30 years old, but I really didn't. Like, I was really bad with nutrition. So just be patient with some of your challengers. And sometimes they just need that extra attention to start, and then they're golden. And then it'll be a rippling effect, and we will all, like you guys will all be successful with the challengers in your group. I think that's kind of all that I have, unless anybody has any questions for me. I can unmute you. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. What was your biggest fear when you signed up to be a coach?
What was my biggest question? I'm just going to mute.
Maybe mute everyone and I'll unmute myself.
Okay, go ahead, Jen.
I said, what was your biggest fear when you became a coach?
Everybody judging me. I was scared to fail. I was scared to think about, I was worried about what others thought of me with posting my selfies, posting all these pictures of me and my my transformations. The very first time, it took me 2.5 years, I bet you, to post that one picture. I'm sure you guys have all seen it because I've been plastered everywhere, but with me just in my sports bra. And I was actually sucking in that picture, which is so sad. But anyways, once I started posting my first transformation, that was like totally worrisome. But I think we all as coaches worry about what others think of us, and we just can't, because in my opinion, those that are judging us, I don't even want those assholes in my life anyways. Like I want those people that are like me, that want to live a healthier, happier life. And it's like, okay, if you're going to judge me, delete me. And I actually had a battle going on with a guy at one point on there because he was so obnoxious and ignorant to me, and I was like, oh, bring it. But I said to him, like, I just turned it into a positive thing, and I was like, you know what, I really, really appreciate that you comment, whether it's a positive or negative feedback. I appreciate it all, because your people on your Facebook, and you have like 1,100 friends, and all those 1,100 people can see my stuff because it's open. Like, I hope I can connect with some of your friends. And I did. And then once he was like, saw that, anyways, it escalated. So don't even worry about the people that are judging you, because you don't want to help them anyway. But I'd say that would be my biggest fear. And I was scared of failing.
Yeah, I think that's pretty common. Okay, well, if we don't have any more questions, that was like a solid half-hour call. That was awesome. Thank you so much, Tracy, for sharing your story openly. I know everyone loves hearing from you, and I know we're all sending you good vibes about the Beachbody Challenge. We'll find out soon if we will be seeing Tracy on stage. Like, I can see it now. I've been visualizing it already for like the last couple months.
I hope so. Or no, when I met him in Mexico, I was so pumped, like, because I had just received the email at that time when I was there that I was qualifying for this. So I had to take my final pictures in Mexico and so on. Anyways, I was like, oh, I just feel like the stars are aligned. Like, I feel like that's going to be a sign from my dad. Like, he's got to have some sort of a connection for me in a different way.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. We're sending you all the good vibes. But thank you.
Having a meltdown.
You said what?
Sorry for having a bit of a meltdown when I brought up my dad.
Oh, no. I mean, you're human. Yeah. If you didn't, I'd kind of be concerned. I'm just kidding. But thank you guys so much for hopping on. This will hopefully be recorded so that we can share it with others. I see the recording sign now, so make sure to share it with your teams and have an amazing week, you guys. Go crush it.
Thanks for having me.